The expected outcome. Cowboys 24, Eagles 21. A W in the win-loss column. The expected outcome. Nobody here, nobody if you come here was surprised by that. Nobody. We're gonna nitpick a couple things before we talk about all the good, just because we have to at this point. But right off the bat, let me. I guess we got to get a yeehaw in here. Let's get a yeehaw for effort that is difficult to be replicated, for unwavering maniacal effort. Just crazy. Special teamers like Elijah Clark, man. Yeehaw to that. But the margin for error is gone now, right? There is no more margin for error. Period. But what happened today, what we just witnessed here, all of us, within the expected outcome of Cowboys-Eagles, is a Cowboys defense that now possesses the ability to buy the offense some time. When you inevitably, in this sport that we call football, when you do dumb stuff as a team, okay? And this is where we get nitpicky, right? Let's just talk. Let's just get it all out there. Let's air out the dirty laundry real quick. When you inevitably start slow, here or there, right? Familiar opponent or otherwise, you start slow. You make a dumb decision that skews the momentum as the head coach before even so much as seeing your opponent's opening game script yet. You risk putting them on the field in your territory, giving up significant field position and ultimately all of the momentum at the beginning of the football game. It's called the script for a reason, because the offense, the coordinators, the quarterbacks, everybody else involved with structuring that particular game plan for that opponent, right? They spend time figuring out the top 10 to 15 plays that they feel not just best suits their strengths, but also more significantly for this Cowboys team here, exploits your weaknesses. Okay. I'm not a fan of that decision, fourth down. Before we've even so much as seen the Eagles opening game script yet. Different discussion if it's halfway through the second quarter or at some other point late in the game when you're absolutely desperate and you got to go and get it. When you're down 21-0, maybe that's a better time to do it, right? But in that case, that to me was a little bit I didn't like that one. All right, it's raining. I hope it's not too loud for you guys. Let me shut this door real quick. 1 second. Somebody just let me know in the chat if the storm cell, what I don't even know what's passing through. I wasn't aware of it, but if it brings any lags or anything like that to the table, y'all just let me know. I'll keep an eye on it over here and we'll refresh if we have to. Scooter says, "Why are you up right now?" Scooter Magruder, what's up, man? Why am I up right now? If you're still in here, the answer is because I have 3 small children and family comes first. So sleep is tertiary in my life, to put it lightly. So it is what it is, man. One of these days I'll get a lot more sleep, but for right now, I'm just taking it day by day. Okay. So are we all on the same page? Hopefully some of you guys at least agree with me on that decision. Let me see the game script first before we go putting the Eagles in a momentous position to start their opening game script in your territory with only half a field to go before they can reach the paint. So that's one thing. The other thing, and this is just the nitpicky things, like I said, because the margin for error has been exhausted. There is none anymore. So the little things like this that we're going to detail, and it's unfortunate, right? I don't like to necessarily dwell on these types of things. The effort in that game is something. It's as good of an effort as you'll ever see. So let's not let that get lost on this discussion here. But we're just having the honest conversations about what's going to have to get corrected, man. And it's simple. It's simple decisions. It's a philosophy that you have control over. What I'm getting ready to unpack here. Tweeted about it back on November 3rd. That was following up from a previous post from after week, somewhere in the first quarter of the season. First quarter of the season, we began tracking these instances which the Cowboys reach goal-to-go sequences in which they have a really successful run play on first down. Okay, so like for instance, tonight, first and goal from the 7-yard line after the incredible Elijah Clark hustle play that afforded the Cowboys the football right there in goal-to-go territory, pretty much. Okay, first and goal from the 7. Javonte Williams, 6-yard carry right up the middle. Cowboys offensive line pushing around that Eagles defensive front. Not unlike what had taken place in the previous 3 quarters on that matchup and up until that point. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But a successful first down run with a power run game, one that features the interior offensive line that once, like we just mentioned, pushed around the Eagles a little bit, and the power and pad level player who's 5 a clip and always falls forward. The guy that got you the power run game, the very run game that pairing, the perfect pairing that we predicted here on this platform. It got you to that point. And then all of a sudden, though, I don't know if this is Dak, if this is Shoddy. I don't really care at all. I've been loud about it because I've been tracking it and predicting that it's going to keep hurting them if they keep electing to do it. And so far now, as of today, this evening, they're 0-5. They're 0 for 5. Run the football successfully on first down or second. In this case, it was first. And you turn the football over on downs with consecutive incompletions or pass calls. 5 times this season that's happened. And I think all 5 of those same instances, maybe one of them wasn't. At least 4 were from inside the 2-yard line. Okay, but tonight specifically, first down carry, first and goal from the 7, 6-yard carry, second and goal from the 1, pass call, incomplete. Third and goal from the 1, pass call, nobody home. Dak evades the pocket, looks to extend the play, and ultimately elects to try and hit the corner with his legs, and he can't quite get there. No gain. Fourth and goal from the 1. Incomplete pass, turnover on downs. 5 times this season that's happened. Because they go away from the power and the pad level that has won all year, that got them there, and that was on display tonight. and then you instead insist and you elect to throw the football consecutive times to close out the possession that ends in a turnover on downs, a sequence in which you elect to lean away from the rare combination of power and pad level that you possess in your run game. That stuff's got to go. All right, we cool? Good on that? Let me get a yeehaw if you agree on that. Yeehaw in the chat, somebody. And by the way, I'm Lando from the Lando Show. If you're new here, appreciate y'all night owls like me, man, just doing what you got to do. Some of y'all probably at work right now. I know a couple of our regulars in here. They are that way. But I'm Lando, like I said, from the Lando Show, and our thing here is sports below the surface. So we like to get deep, take it down to the depths that most are unwilling to attempt to go to. Like, we live in a shock jock world, right? Mainstream media, they have a selling point, and that selling point in most cases isn't the truth. Okay, they're just trying to polarize you. So think of this platform, the Lando Show, as the opposite of that. Okay, that's always the goal. The main objective is to creatively convey the sports below the surface truth for the true fan. 85,000 and counting. But there is no me without y'all. So continue to like this video for me if you haven't already. That keeps the show free and keeps the sports below the surface truth for the true fan like you expanding. Okay, I appreciate that. Now let's move over to where do we want to go next? You guys feel free to chime in, by the way. One last thing. Let's move. Let's go to CeeDee. Let's go to CeeDee and George. Okay. Guys, we don't have to pick a side. You don't have to argue for one player over the other. Because a lot of times what ends up happening, let me check and make sure I even got the right microphone turned on real fast, y'all. Sure don't. How's that? Tell me that's not 12 times better. Is that soothing? We're all doing good, CeeDee. I appreciate you asking. Bert in the house says CeeDee. Aaron Luna says, how about GP, baby? So let's talk about that. Okay. 2 of the last 3 comments. And my girl Sadiqa's in here, as always. Yeah! That one's for you, Sadiqa. Thanks for all the support. I you know how I feel about you. I appreciate you. We don't have to pick a side, though, with CeeDee and George. I hope that everybody understands that. I hope that you also understand that the very nature of lobbying for one over the other, trying to figure out who's better, that's what First Take is for. Fake take, as we like to call it sometimes on here, is for. That's the people who we're trying not to be. That's where they go. On mainstream media, national television, trying to polarize something that needs no polarization. It needs appreciation, as a matter of fact, and a different perspective than that one that's trying to be spun right now. CeeDee's clearly pressing. I don't think anybody's denying that. George has clearly been the better player this year. I don't think anybody's denying that. But CeeDee Lamb is still a 1,700-yard receiver.
Guys, listen. Okay, what?
CeeDee, in a lot of ways, has made life easier for George. Drawing safety help, attracting attention across the middle. stuff that all pro 1,700-yard receivers earn the respect from their opponent that they're matched up with. Okay. In some ways, George that we're lobbying for over CeeDee isn't George necessarily without CeeDee. And yeah, he had a 3 or 4 game spurt when CeeDee missed time with his ankle where he was equally as productive. And the offense didn't miss a beat. That's true. But being able to do that week in, week out is something that still George Pickens hasn't proven to the level of CeeDee Lamb. Now, you see how what I just did there spoke honestly and objectively about CeeDee that invokes a sense of, like, from the viewer or the listener, you guys, it invokes a sense of me trying to downplay what George is doing. And that's what I can't stand. Because to talk somebody else up, what I hope we recognize as fans is that we oftentimes must thereby talk the other person that we're comparing our preference to down. It doesn't have to be that way. We can say, and by the way, the fact that it's even an argument to begin with, the fact that we can, there is polarization. There are passionate takes on both sides of this discussion. But did you stop for a second? Did you think about the fact that it's an argument to begin with should say enough about each respective receiver individually? If one's a 1,700-yard player and an all-pro, multi-time Pro Bowler, and the other one is being argued for as better, aren't they both great? Aren't they both on your team? Do they both play for you and help each other? The answer is yes. But here's the beautiful part about all of it. It gets better. We don't have to choose because the fake salary cap, the fact that salary cap hell is a myth, we already don't have to choose preferentially speaking. But because the salary cap, contrary to what, once again, a lot of mainstream media will try to convey to you, or Jerry Jones himself in some cases, Stephen Jones in most recent memory, cap hell. Can't afford it. He's walked away from that. Remember, we reported that here. Hey, pay attention. Trade's coming. Because Catboy ain't talking like Catboy no more. We unpacked all that stuff. Because that's what we do here. We dig. We uncover. We creatively convey the truth. The fact that the salary cap is fake means that you don't have to choose George versus CeeDee financially either. You can like both. You can lobby for both. You can say that they're both great in their own way, but you don't have to choose. You can have both. And no, not just because they traded Micah. Moving a $47 million piece makes life easier on everyone else's book, or the accounting situation, the principle, where cap hell is merely it's a fantasy created. It's a fallacy, actually, created and cultivated by the ownership, the very ownership, league wide, by the way, who's always in most cases, not every case, in most cases, operating with their pockets in their best interest. Okay, because free agency, where the salary cap is really shunned, because you're paying a premium for less than premium talent. That's the way that most of the league views it. And it's in some cases it's true. But you got to go and do what you got to go and do to make sure that your team is better. Okay? You can have George Pickens and you can have CeeDee Lamb. You don't have to choose. The Joneses shouldn't let you choose. They shouldn't make you. The Joneses shouldn't choose themselves. They should choose both. Remember, George has franchise tag capability. The Cowboys technically don't have to do anything as far as extensions are concerned. He's going to remain a Cowboy. But the emphasis for me, from my angle, is get the extension done now. And I know that's difficult because of the agency, David Mulligetta, but also because of sometimes you got bigger fish to fry at that particular point in time. As far as things like focusing on talent acquisition and winning football games to stay in the race, which is back. It's really going to be back to where we get away from the the not sexy topics after a win like this. This is where it all comes full circle. The Cowboys now, because of them pivoting and deviating from their recent historical norm, the Cowboys have aggressively pursued and bought themselves a defense that can now, when you inevitably do dumb stuff, like Brian Schottenheimer giving up momentum and field position, and digging yourself into your own hole. When things inevitably happen, the offense struggles. We get a strip sack, procedural penalty. Once again, like tonight, where all of a sudden you go from being in a quarterback sneak, easy 6-point situation to feeling like you got to throw the football again from the 6-yard line because we procedural penalty ourselves into an interception. We eliminated the power and the pad level from the equation in that particular set of circumstances. So when dumb things inevitably happen, like dropping footballs, your star receiver, the human element of sport is real, y'all, in case you haven't learned that by now. But once again, those of you who are here, who come here routinely, you are well aware of that. The human element matters. CeeDee's pressing. When you do dumb stuff and your star receiver has 6 cumulative drops against this Eagles team this season. When dumb, weird stuff like that happens in this sport, as it does every single game, there are unpredictables, there are weird things, and it's just momentum is a wild ride, man, because of the human element. When you make dumb decisions, you do dumb things, unexpected things happen. You got to have a defense that can buy your offense some time. And the Cowboys clearly have that now. And that's what we're celebrating on this Thanksgiving week as we kick it off and get it started. I haven't heard that, by the way. CeeDee Lamb George Pickens talking to CeeDee's agent. I haven't heard anything about that. I'd be shocked if that's the case. Or I guess I should say, if I assume you're insinuating that the report or whatever it is that you heard out there is with regard to George Pickens leaving David Mulligetta. I don't know anything about that. I can look into it, absolutely. I can ask around. I got some people, but if that's what you're saying, leaving athletes first and David Mulligetta, who's widely regarded, Micah Parsons' agent, for those of you who are unfamiliar, widely regarded as the number one agent in the NFL. Very well respected individual. I don't know the answer to that question. But now, when you stop roughing the punter and leaving your defense on the field, when you get past the opening game script and affording them the luxury of a short field, and when you get past fumbles and interceptions, once again, weird things, can your defense buy your offense some time? And as evidenced by today's events, the answer is an emphatic yes. Now, once again, how impressed are we? Right? Last week, y'all told me it's just the Raiders. I'm the lunatic. It's just the Raiders, Lando. Looking into Eagles week, wait until you play the Eagles. Even that offense is going to mow you up, mow you down. Oh, now guess what? I'm gonna hear all. It's just the Eagles, Lando. That offense, you said it yourself. It's a negative offense. It is. A negative offense without their Hall of Fame right tackle. Yeah, it led me to the conclusion, the foregone conclusion in my mind. This is a win. Because I also overvalue team camaraderie and just all the things that the Cowboys have gone through off the field. There's a special little vibe they got going. That's obviously as evidenced by today. There's an energy about them. They're talking different. They act different. George Pickens has infected the entire organization with his energy. Not, and I don't mean on the field. That obviously as well. But I posted some clips last week from the sounds of the sideline. Many of you probably heard. Like Cowboys players were like, that dude is insane. Like he's crazy. Like up here. But the indirect quote was, that boy is insane, but he cold though. Somebody on the Cowboys sideline said that. Childlike energy, passion for a kid's game that is very easy to overlook and to get lost in as a player. You forget that microscope is big, man. People, idiots like me wearing cowboy hats with a camera and a microphone can break down and post in front of the hundreds of thousands and millions in some cases, exposing your flaws, man. Here you are. Everybody knows you messed up on that play. Thanks, Lando. Sorry. It's just the microscope is massive in general, but especially with this team, as everybody knows. No breaking news. There's lots to deal with, but this the team clearly has rallied around the unfortunate circumstances of Marshawn Nealon. They're refusing to let they're refusing to let him go in vain, making sure that they hold up their end of the bargain on his behalf. And there's some power in that. So that's what led me to that conclusion. But yeah. What else do we pick up on today? So yeah, I mean that's let's do this. Listen to this. The Cowboys offense, man, the defense has to be able to buy them some time, just even if they start slow. There's so many different things that can go wrong if you're dependent on your offense giving you the lead so that you can play one-dimensional defense. It's just it's a recipe that cannot succeed over time, and the Cowboys themselves are living proof of that. All right, so let's just see, teams like this Cowboys offense, you have to protect it. Why I was so emphatic about you can't save the pitch. You got to be aggressive now. Because of George Pickens, the Cowboys defense is this right here.
I am inevitable.
Their offense, I should say. It's inevitable because you've got power, run game, spelled to both sides if they want to, by alpha dog wide receiver ones and a really smart quarterback. So there's answers for any way you want to try to attack them. You want to stack the box, stop the run, and leave one of CeeDee or George Pickens or both in one-on-one situations with a single high safety? You sure about that? Okay, you want to bracket both guys. Now you got 6 in the box, even with Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Moro Ojomo, Jalen Phillips. The defense that teams like, the Lions couldn't put points up on. Chiefs couldn't put points up on. The widely regarded number 1 defense in football, for good reason. This Cowboys team was in about as negative of a game script as you could possibly be in. And they still ran for almost 150 yards. Being down 21-0. When you don't have access to every run call that you would otherwise like to have, every sequence of calls in the run game. Half the playbook is that you spent your week preparing to deploy is gone. Because you enter into a different mode. Now, I give credit to Shoddy. Let's talk him up a little bit because we spent some time talking about the things that we don't like. Let's finish on a high note. Actually committing and sticking to the run this time, even despite being down 3 touchdowns early. We've had discussions after losses this season where we felt like Shoddy gave it up too quick, much like he's quick. He or Dak, whoever it is, are very quick to insist on throwing the football in goal-to-go situations. It's a good point. It's worth mentioning. Nate Thomas did come in. Unless I missed something. Guyton didn't get hurt, right? Nate Thomas came in and played most of that fourth quarter? Man, I'm not even sure. I don't even know. I remember looking up at one point and being like, wait a second. Because my kids were all still up at the time. The game was coming to a conclusion, to a close right at power hour in my house, trying to get all the kids ready for bed. So it's possible that I missed something. But I look up and I see Nate Thomas. I'm like, whoa, okay, interesting. After just focusing very clearly on Tyler Guyton's tape from last week, albeit against a much lesser front, I agree. Showing real signs, man. Just understanding the game better. He's been pretty good. So let's talk about the Turpin thing. Because Tom Brady made a point. He took himself out. Okay. Do we know why though, Sadiqa? Okay, he rolled his ankle. Okay, that makes more sense. I was gonna say because that's an awfully quick trigger. When I didn't really see the Eagles' defensive front dominating, even despite being able to pin their ears back for most of that game, with the Cowboys playing catch up the way that they kind of were forced into. I was like, I look up and I saw Nate Thomas in there at left tackle, and I remember I instantly thought to myself, I was like, if there's an injury, unless there's an injury I didn't see, Tyler Guyton wasn't bad enough to get replaced like that. So that makes more sense. That checks. Appreciate y'all covering me on that one. Okay, the Turpin thing. Brady made a point. This is one of my more passionate takes. I've got a couple different projects allocated to this topic specifically. Like this was one of our homework assignments over the summer. Figuring out like, okay, what do the Cowboys got to do to be more effective running the football? One of the things that we unpacked and uncovered was what Tom Brady referenced after the Turpin fumble. He said that getting a guy and Hall of Fame quarterback, arguably the greatest of all time. Who am I to dispute him? But I'm going to stand on what I believe, and you guys can tell me if I'm stupid if you want to. That's fine. But this is my firm belief based on lots of homework, research, and due diligence, but especially studying this specific situation featuring Kevontae Turpin running the football, or just Kevontae out of the backfield, right? Getting him going east to west, handing him the football, manufacturing him touches east to west is not his skill set. Tom likened it to that more closely simulates what he sees as a return man. I could not disagree more. And the data actually backs that up. And I have more personal data. Once again, I'm very convicted on this topic. Now, Tom, the game today is already slightly different than it was at the end of his career. Or at least when he was in his prime, it's very different. What works now based on defensive related personnel. Okay, but the gist is McCarthy and Shoddy last year in 2024 found out that handing Kevontae Turpin the football going north and south was 3 times more effective based on yards per carry than it was when he was going east to west. Three times. His per carry total went from the first 5 carries of the season, they manufactured him touches with the jet sweep, the jet motion stuff, right? East to west game. 3.2 yards per carry on end arounds, reverses, jet sweeps. East to west stuff, right? The next 7 carries in a row, I tracked this, and this is on this channel. You can go see it. An average of 9.2 yards per carry on the next 7 carries in a row. They put him in the backfield as the lone setback. Dak under center, or whoever it was, whichever quarterback it was, under center. That is what more closely simulates what Cavante is used to seeing in the return game, because it's his field of vision moving this direction. You can't see gaps when you're running parallel to the actual line of scrimmage. Everything is in front of him, not to his left or to his right in the return game. Does that compute? Hopefully you guys follow me on that. Okay. I'm going to assume that we're clear there. North and South tripled Cavante's yards per carry total. Okay, that's what you got to know. The second thing you got to know, and why I think Tom Brady was inaccurate with his statement about it was a dumb decision to hand Cavante the football. Remember, we only care when bad things happen. It's like CeeDee Lamb spraining his ankle at the beginning of the season. That also happened with him basically as a running back. Out of the backfield, manufactured touch, get him the football. People said, should never be having CeeDee Lamb in there in the backfield to begin with. When if the reality is those same people would be clapping and praising Shoddy and CeeDee and company. Had CeeDee Lamb broken that tackle there and sprinted 40-plus yards down the end zone for a touchdown. Nobody cares. But we only care when something goes wrong. Okay, Tom mistakenly mentioned that was the wrong way to give Cavante the football. That's the right way. Shoddy knows that. Shoddy was around last year. He was in the building when they made that adjustment for Cavante's manufactured touch types. Very clear, very black and white, very evident. But where Tom also went wrong was forgetting to account for the modern hybridized defense that features 5 and sometimes 6 defensive backs on the field, but everybody else, edges that can spot drop into coverage these days, linebackers that are running sub 4.5s now, that everybody else can fly sideline to sideline, east to west, and pursue, especially from depth, almost as quickly as Cavante Turpin can. You notice those big, like, long developing run plays with action at the mesh point, or just jet sweeps in general, like just generic end around type east to west ball carrying stuff. You don't see it splash anymore. There's a reason for that. That's because everybody's faster. Defenses had to account for. They had to restructure themselves. And it was a 10-year period of time before they really caught up to the postmodern spread, the aerial attacks, right? The pass-happy offenses. The defenses had to catch up, and they've caught up now. So not only does Cavante Turpin have better success moving north and south when he's carrying the football, because that is actually what replicates what he sees when he's returning kicks and punts. But not only is that the case, what's also the case is defenses are faster, man. That stuff just simply doesn't fool people anymore. The end around, the reverse or the double reverse, that was stuff that you used to do back in the day when linebackers weighed 265. It's 2025 now. It's a different sport. Sadiqa stays hyping me up. I see you, and I appreciate you. Thank you. And by the way, here's means to supporting the channel for those of you who are interested. We got options, man. Where are we at? Oh, here we go. The season of giving. Okay, so with that in mind now, too, the last thing I wanted to say is just like a relatable topic. I'm sitting there in my living room when the Cowboys are electing to have the Eagles re-kick to Cavante Turpin, who I've already seen fumble the football. I've already seen bobble a screen pass. I've already seen, there was one other instance, I think maybe 2 or 3 instances at the very least, when, he's just shaking himself. He's checking his hands, right? Like, Come on, Cavante. Just like pep talks. He's pressing. And it's actually an admirable trait. It's an admirable way to mess up because, guys like Cavante are messing up going, like, he's trying to score touchdowns every time he touches the ball. I respect it. Sometimes his head just gets going a little too fast, right? His mind, like, he starts running before he secures whatever it is. Like, y'all understand, like, him tripping in the backfield and then hitting his elbow on his own offensive lineman's leg, which is really what caused the fumble. Like, that is all a byproduct of the human element of sports psychology, a little bit of nerves and anxiety, right? Just like not being settled into the rhythm of the football game yet. Your feet still feel like it's hard to pick them up. That's your body's natural reaction to a fight or flight mode. Your senses go funny. All of a sudden, your shoulder pads start to feel a little heavy. You start to notice different things about the way that you're breathing. Right? You start to pick up on different sounds when you're in that moment, in that zone. It's that tunnel vision after that norepinephrine dump. You get that adrenaline dump, and it's like you're a different person. It's almost like an out of body experience. I was addicted to that. I love that. But what happened on that fumble is a result of a guy just not being settled in yet. Okay, so what I'm getting at is after I had been scarred by Cavante's, pressing a little bit, much like CeeDee Lamb, not securing the football all day long, and then the Cowboys thereby making the decision just to try to generate an explosive play. Once again, which I get it. I'm all about it. Like, Cavante tried to go make something happen. He can turn the football game on its head. And I understood why they were doing it. But for just the way that my head processes football, I'm thinking to myself, God, please don't make this guy try to because it becomes a thinking game at that point. Just extra time to dwell on, dang it, man, I fumbled the ball already today. I got to catch this one. That's pressing. And that's when dumb stuff happens. So I'm sitting there like, please, man, Shotty, just take the ball at the 20 and let's go. Don't risk something catastrophic. Like, it's already been a weird game to begin with. You got Jake Ferguson fumbling the football out of bounds, luckily. Saquon Barkley fumbling the football. Their punt returner fumbling the football. Our punt returner fumbling the football as a running back in the backfield. Both quarterbacks, I don't know. Did Hurts end up throwing an interception? I don't think anybody had a pick. Dak throwing an interception. Just weird game. Missed field goals from the best in the sport. Weird game. Roughed punts, or roughed punters that extend drives. A weird game. Please, man, don't make Cavante do more than he needs to. Anyway, I thought that was a little stressful moment that I wanted to share. I figured surely I'm not the only one that felt that, but who knows? I know I'm overly analytical sometimes, so just curious. Yes, like, as far as individual performances go, man, I always have to go back. I don't ever know. So, like, you'll key in on, certain guys who obviously, like, people like George Pickens are obvious. Certain guys will flash in certain moments, but you never truly know how a player performed because nobody's watching the same player every single snap of the football game. Most people, I should say, aren't doing that. And I dang sure am not. But even if they were, they're still not getting an accurate depiction of reality because they don't have the time, first of all, to slow down and evaluate, okay, how are they matching personnel? How is the defense aligned? What does the offense look like? What is their personnel package? What is their alignment or their splits? What is that telling us? What is that dictating? Right. So it's a chess match going on. There's too much to think about and process in real time. But even if you could, the angle of the live television broadcast doesn't show you the full picture to begin with either. You can't really see corners all that often. You really can't see safeties unless they're glorified box linebackers and you're playing against Derrick Henry. Then you can see the strong safety. He's right there 4 yards at depth behind the line of scrimmage, ready to stop the run. But you get the point. Individual performances, man. I don't really. That's always just like like throughout the week process of me just sort of uncovering and unpacking what everybody did, how people looked. That takes me a little bit of time. It is what it is. That was absolutely full of stress, man. You ain't wrong. Yeah, so that was cool to see Brevin finally get rewarded in the end zone. That's a really powerful storm. Can y'all hear that? Hold on, I gotta go make sure I'm not like in a tornado warning or something. That's some rainfall right there, y'all. I think I'm gonna be okay. But unfortunately, the bad news is my daughters probably won't be. They're pretty scared. Well, at least my oldest daughter is terrified of storms. Don't know why. My middle child sleeps right through it all. Couldn't care less about what's happening around her. She's a little hurricane for about 16 hours out of the day, and then the remaining time that she's not awake, she is slumped hard, dead to the world. So it was cool to see BSF, Brevin Spanford, BNSF, as I refer to him as, Brevin Nasty Spanford, or Freight Train Ford, Mr. Burlington, Northern Santa Fe. It was cool to see him get rewarded because the dirty work that dude has done without complaint, with the same intensity in week 11 when I watched his film last week against the Raiders, same intensity that I watched him deploy in week 1 against the very same Eagles team that we just watched them beat. Dude hasn't wavered, doing the little things, the dirty work. So that was cool to see. I've obviously back in week 2, I broke him down. That was when I coined the term BNSF, and I've been paying very close attention ever since. I actually wrote about him as a starter back in April for Mike Fisher on athlonsports.com. If you're interested in going and checking that piece out, that was a fun one too. But it's cool to see that come to life for him. The hard work for me, obviously unpacking and uncovering and projecting things that come to life. But then for him, the $250,000 undrafted free agent that is now becoming a household name for Cowboys fans. That was awesome. I'm going to go check on my daughters and make sure that they're all good. And I see you, Uncle Charles, just in time, man, before I got up out of here. Salute to the Lando show. Unc, Birmingham, Alabama. How about them Cowboys? Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah!
All I want y'all to remember, the parting thoughts for tonight. There's so much more I wanted to get to, but it's late. We all need sleep, and I need to go make sure that they're all good in there. Don't question. Don't worry. I can't guarantee you if the Cowboys are going to make the playoffs or not. I can't. Y'all know when I'm convicted about something, I say it, I stand firm on it, and I'm loud about it. Just like I was loud about them going and getting Quinnen Williams.
before they did so. It wasn't just Quinnen. I didn't predict that specifically, but that one always made sense. And for reasons like we discussed earlier with Catboy not talking like Catboy this year, Shoddy's influence on the roster decisions, that's a big one. That's what I wanted to talk about today. That needs 20 minutes of its own. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow. That's a big one. And that matters. Just think about the guys that have been traded. Think about the guys that have been traded for. Think about the players who most of the fan base wanted that are inactive currently, even today. Think about the weird storylines going on behind the scenes with Trevon Diggs. Think about the fact that myself, Lou Takes, and Vach Lombardi were three of the only three that I knew of, that I had seen on the Cowboys media streets suggesting that offensive line at 12 was absolutely in the conversation. Everybody else wanted a receiver. Once again, I can't predict. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs or not. What I do know, what you need to know, don't listen to anybody else, is that Quinnen Williams is as advertised. He plus DeMarvion Overshown, and now I am firmly convicted as well, Savone Revel. Those are very, very significant pieces to this puzzle beyond just 2025. Okay, those guys matter. Quinnen Williams is as advertised, and this front office, because of all the things that we talk about right here every single time, because of all the things that we've unpacked tonight, they are going to continue to be aggressive in the offseason. Look me in the eyes when I say that, so you know I'm not messing around. They are going to remain aggressive in the offseason. It lines up. All the things that they've done, the way that they are talking, the way that the head coach operates, and what he prioritizes. The things that we're seeing. And now the culture that's persisting. Down 21-0 to the defending champs, but nobody flinched. Nobody flinched. Think about why that is. And be excited knowing that no matter what happens from this point forward this season, this organization is now operating, deviating from the recent historical norm and pursuing aggression with the intent of placing winning first. Trust me. Remember, prayer changes things, and the war is already won. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Oh, yeah, one last thing. Let me get a yeehaw.
All right.